In order to become wealthy, you must understand the dichotomy between bread and seed. I'm going to explain what they mean in a moment. Bread is something you eat today. It's something you plant for your future. This is a concept the wealthy understand intimately. This is a concept deficient of, you will lose every single thing you have. Because getting wealth is way different from retaining wealth. Getting wealth is easier than the preservation. The Bible says strong men retain wealth. Strong men retain wealth. So the retainment factor is a consequence of strength. I always say this, you guys are very fortunate to hear this from a multi-millionaire. You guys are very fortunate to gain all of my experience distilled in one video. I said before you life and death. I said before you blessings and curses. I cannot force you. I can only advise you. Choose life. Choose life. By watching this video to the end, you are choosing life. Now, I cannot force you, like I said. It's a decision you have to make for yourself. And once you're 80, haven't lost every single thing. I wish I had just finished that 16-minute video. Bread and seed. As I said, bread is something you use for your current satisfaction. Seed is something you plant futuristically. The previous generation were fixated on seed. As a consequence, every single thing was about wealth for their children's children, for the next generation, 3, 4, 5 generations ahead. All of these are good in and of itself. But when it was done at the expense of the current generation, that children did not have food to eat, children could not afford to go to good schools. Yet, when the man passes, a hectare of land or all of his properties are valued in the billions, hundreds of millions, if you like. And what the newer generation now does, which is equally as unprofitable, they are on the revenge mission. I have suffered, and every single thing they did not eat, they will eat it now. Unfortunately, if you eat your seed today, you will be hungry tomorrow. Bread is what you eat now. Seed is what you sow. Not understanding this concept will cost you a lot in life. There were people who have missed a ton of opportunities as a consequence of the deficiency of seed. Your friend about to relocate, look, this property is valued at $100,000. If you have 10 grand, come and take it. And they could not capitalize on that opportunity because of lack of seed. Now, there are two reasons you sow seeds. First, for an emergency. Secondly, to capitalize on investment opportunities. Any other reasons is wrong. First, for an emergency. Second, the capitalization on investment opportunities. Anything aside that is wrong. Your savings is never going to make you wealthy. In fact, majority of people have come to the conclusion, because we are now in dire times financially. People, including old men and women, have seen inflation. There are people who were in destitute villages, living a very simple life, who have come to the conclusion of what inflation is because of the prices of things. Now, the fiat currency scam is as evident than it has ever been. So majority of people are opposed to the idea of savings. They now know that inflation is one of the many factors that can erode their purchasing power. So savings is never going to make you wealthy. Investment is what makes you wealthy. Rich people classify it as ownership is what makes you wealthy. But ownership still falls under the category of investment. Once you invest, you own. You understand? So in order to get wealthy, you must be an owner. You acquire assets, own businesses, more than liabilities. An asset and a liability, if you go on the internet and try and distinguish these things, they will try as much as possible to obfuscate with words, leaving you confounded. The government, it is very clear by that charade that the government doesn't want you to distinguish an asset from a liability. In simple terms, an asset puts money in your pocket, a liability takes money out of your pocket. So your car is a liability because it's taking lots and lots of money out of your pocket. Gas, tire change, mechanics, things like that. But your house, especially in places like Africa where the government is not too in your business. So this idea of property tax, even if it exists, number one, it can be evaded. I never said that. I pay my property tax. Number two, it is very, very little. Very, very little. Very, very little. It's minuscule. I'm talking under $200, $300. For instance, this apartment, I currently own it. It's a 2-story building containing 6 tenants, of which I occupy one apartment. So on average, the rent here, it's $2,000 per apartment. So 2 multiplied by 5, that's 10 grand. The property tax on this apartment is $200. The last one they brought, $200. So you're making 10 grand, you're pulling in 10 grand from one of your many rental properties, and the tax is $200. Seems quite fair relative to what you, my friends in the West, are paying for, only for your government to buy a B2 jet worth 2B. Yeah, but you get the point. Bread and seed. Bread and seed. Seed is what you save. Unfortunately, majority might be foolish to attempt to sow seeds when you are financially stable. My friend, as I just stated, investment is what makes you wealthy. In order to get investment, you must acquire, you must engage in acquisition. Very rarely does your bread give you that position, and if you're in that position, it's a very fortunate one. But for majority, start where you stand. More tools will be found along the way. It will not be found at the initial point of the journey, but along the way, somewhere it is studied. If you never start, you will never find them. There is no seed as big as my hand. There is no seed as big as my head. Every seed is small. It's the compounding factor that makes it a tree. In fact, this issue of compound interest is still a universal wonder, especially in the life of likes like Buffett, his dollar cost averaging theory that has made more millionaires. And I use the word more millionaires not because of the statistics, but comparing in the idea that these individuals had little to no hope of attaining that status. Well, the age, of course, the age where they attained it isn't that favorable, but at least it's something. It's better than nothing. Bread and seed. Learn to sow seeds and eat bread. Do not eat everything. There are people in this day and age who were in this city where the surrounding houses were as low as £1 million, $1,000, $2,000, and you watch it go from 1, 2, 3 to 10 grand. Sorry, I had issues with my microphone. I have no idea whether this video was recording. Irregardless, I'll have to end it. As always, my friends, pleasure speaking to you. I'll see you in the next one.